Hey, what's up guys? What's going on? So in my last video here on the farm, I had a ton of people ask me to get a little further into detail about the bamboo, what we just planted, and what I actually just moved. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect it to be this easy, even though I've done it a couple of times, and I should have broke out the camera and I didn't. I think I got it on my Instagram and maybe my TikTok, so if you guys are on those social media platforms, those videos are still up there, and you guys can see me move this actually mature clump of, I believe this is Graceful bamboo, Textiles Gracilis. So this is a 35 foot clumper. They say 30 foot in the books, and it has been getting pruned every year because it was actually initially on my north property line on the far side over there underneath the power lines, where I already moved a bunch of bamboo here over the last few years. This one had been just getting pruned by the power company every year, and I figured, all right, I got a better spot for it. I'm putting it on another north property line, but this is the second property. My property kind of goes like a Z. So I have a north line over here, it runs down to the south, and I have another north line here. And we actually just planted out this other north line, and I had a couple of pieces that had been in the nursery for some years. I'm not even quite positive what they are. I think that one's Bic, but I'm not sure. I got that one from my buddy Josh. I got another one over here. This is, I think, Nana. This one's a little bit mad. I think Bambooza Nana is the name on this one. I got this one from Josh also. And you can see a little bit of the yellow in the leaves right now. And, you know, bamboo, super wind tolerant, amazing for windbreaks, never breaks. But what I can tell you is the roots are super, super, super shallow. So, you know, in order for us to transplant those, we just cut around them with the pony shovel about 6 to 8 inches deep. I literally came up to it with the forks on my big loader, stuck it in underneath there, picked the whole clump up, moved it across the yard, planted it. The key is when you cut off that many roots, you really need to just keep soaking the root ball. You can't water these enough, and especially in the first even 30 to 60 days. Like right now in Florida, we're at the beginning of March. I think today's March 2nd. This is our dry season. We can sometimes not get rain until June when we get into the rainy season. We're talking March, April, May. Trying to establish something that was just transplanted is going to need a little extra water, so just keep that in mind if you ever do move one of those. Here's another one, untagged, just kind of loose in the nursery. Got it out of there, got it in the ground, so I planted some more on this north line over here. We were kind of playing with some palm fronds to see how it would work as a little bit of a camouflage. Just kind of, the wind really soars across this over here. So we're trying to establish another break here. Windbreak, privacy break, nursery protection, multi-function, and just cruising right over to this side of the Japotacabos. And the soil bin, I planted more Graceful and Alphonse Carr bamboo in a small gap. And the idea being I'll have a big windbreak behind these soil bins, behind these old pallets back here. We're trying to get this area cleaned up, and every time I get everything out, everything just tends to come back. We did add a couple of zones for the Japotacabos. I got my big ones over here on drip now. They're all pushing new growth. They look really good. Look at that big old jabo. And when you come down into here, you'll see Alphonse Carr, Graceful, and I can only tell by the color of the stem. The Alphonse Carr is actually yellow. And typically speaking with the Graceful, I plant these about 6 or 8 foot on center. Same thing with the Alphonse Carr. And other varieties you can get into the 10, 12 foot range. So you can go a little bit wider. And I planted these all the way down the back line. And one of them actually looks a little bit pissed off. This Alphonse Carr, and you can see, this is what I was talking about with the stripe. Well, I hope you can see. But it has a very light green stripe inside of it with the yellow cane. This one definitely gets a little bit of sooty mold. I actually found it does really well in the shade. Here we go, we got a new shoot already up on that one. And last one right here. So I believe the last two are Graceful, and in this tight area we have the Alphonse Carr. So I got a bunch of different varieties. Actually, whoa! All right, let me get over to show you where I ripped that one out of the ground. All right guys, so one of the main windbreaks I installed when I first moved in was this variety here behind me. That's Bambooza Melingensis, Seabreeze bamboo. I was actually sold that as a multiplex. It was only supposed to get 20, 25 foot. My good friend Andy Firk identified it as a Seabreeze. I put it underneath the power lines, which were at about 32 foot. This one didn't work, so I ended up putting that power line underneath the ground. If you guys go back to some older videos, you'll hear me talk about that. Move some clumps out by the road. But this is one that's never been pruned, so I just wanted to stop and show you. Great building material. This one has an edible shoot. It does need to be cooked. It's very cold hardy. I believe this variety will take down to about 12 degrees. We've been in the teens here. and it hasn't been phased. This one is on no irrigation. I will tell you that bamboo is a pretty heavy feeder. When you get it into the dappled light, you wouldn't think bamboo would do well, but it actually takes a shade pretty well. I can show you about 25 different clumps around here doing awesome in the shade, and some of those same varieties not doing as good in the sun, like the Alphonse Carr, like the Asian Lemon. I mean, they just look absolutely terrible. They actually seem to prefer the shade. It's definitely not a cold hardiness thing. It's just more of a location. So even though, like I was saying about the bamboo needing water, get it out in full sun, it's definitely gonna need a lot more water. The big thing I found with bamboo, and the reason why bamboo gets a really bad reputation, is because of these running varieties. We only plant clumping varieties. I probably have over 30 clumping varieties here. And by clumping, that means it's never gonna exceed that maximum footprint, whatever that variety might be, 8 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot, some even hit 15 foot. Usually by the 5th year of having the bamboo planted, you've hit your maximum footprint. This is probably coming up on 4 or 5 years old. Clumps around 8, 9 foot. I think this one's gonna max out around 10, we'll see. But you guys wanna go see some more bamboo? Hold tight. All right, so we have 2 yellow and green striped varieties here. This is the Asian Lemon variety. You can kind of see that stripe right there. It's a little bit of an orangish yellow. The new growth really shows it a lot more. Let's see if we could get you guys some of that. Oh, look how beautiful that is. All right, so that cane's not gonna get very huge, or not like a old hammy eye or Dendrocalamus asper, some of these bigger ones. But when I was getting into water earlier, what I really wanted to point out to y'all was the root systems on the bamboo can be really invasive. So even though this isn't a running variety, you do want to be cautious where you plant this stuff. I've noticed it dries the grass out. I've noticed out in my market garden, 30, 40 feet from where I have bamboo planted, it was wrapped around drip irrigation when that was originally a market garden. So those roots are going to travel looking for water. So it's great. You have a wet area, you want to dry it out. Bamboo is an awesome choice. You know, bamboo is a grass. But right here, this one's in really nice dappled light. Seems to be thriving, no irrigation. In the understory right now, probably hitting about 30 foot. I think this is a 40-foot clumper, so it's pretty close to its maximum height. And then just over here on this side, you can see I have a huge break in here in the back, and it's just to separate us from the guest house. Doing some paint work over there right now, don't look. And that's the Alphonse Carr. That one's supposed to top out around 20, 25 foot. And it just gave me a big, privacy break in the backyard, kind of separating my house from over here, giving us a little bit of privacy to the pool. That one does unbelievable in the shade, and I'll show you one in full sun that does not look as good. Same thing with the Asian Lemon. So Alphonse Carr, never been pruned. I don't do anything to these. See if we can get in here and show you a little bit more of that color action. You can see a little bit of that mealybug. Not something that you really see from the distance, but when you get up close, you can kind of see it. Not really an issue, other than aesthetic when you get close, but there's a little bit of that color. And that's that Alphonse Carr, Asian Lemon, really similar. Let me show you where I ripped that one out of the ground and show you some of my favorites over here in the middle. Hold tight. Just noticed a prime example of some Seabreeze in action. Wind's coming out of the west today. You can kind of hear it, wisping through here, and something really crazy I'm gonna tell you guys. Andy Firk told me he had a bamboo expert at his place, and you can actually tell the varieties of bamboo apart once you get to a crazy level just by the sound wisping through the leaves. So the sound of the wind traveling through the clumps, some people can actually identify them. So can you imagine that? I'll be happy enough just looking at these, being able to identify them, much less having somebody, blindfolded identify them, which Andy told me he's got like 40 varieties at his place. He had someone there that identified half blindfolded, which is just mind-boggling. So that's definitely at another level. But Seabreeze bamboo, and these ones over here aren't quite as established yet, but this is the main one that I have in on my west property line. It's done really well for us, super cold hardy. You can kind of see right there where the power's coming in. Definitely they keep that pruned on a regular, but otherwise the rest of the bamboo has been let loose now since we fixed the power line issue. So such a gorgeous time of year. All of the azaleas are going off right now. Getting into spring, everything's starting to flush back out. Can you say what's popping? Azaleas, camellias, tababuia, everything's kind of starting to go off around here right now. Peaches, plums, lots of things set in flower. So it's an exciting time of year around the farm. We've been harvesting loquats, we've been eating star fruit. It's probably another video I could do in itself for you guys. So let's turn around here and talk about bamboo though. Just like I am growing fruit trees that I'm not supposed to be growing here, I'm kind of growing bamboos you're not supposed to be growing here. So there's definitely cold hardiness with bamboos. I think I said I'm about 35 varieties. I've lost count like I have with my fruit trees. And I only have 2 varieties here that have been cold sensitive, and they're 110 foot clumpers, and that's Dendrocalamus asper and the Giganteus. Both of these, supposedly the shoots can be eaten edible raw. So I actually chose a lot of my bamboo varieties from the book, The Perennial Vegetable Gardener. And that's by a good friend of mine and teacher, Eric Tonesmeyer. I've taken a couple of his courses. We even hosted a course here years and years and years ago when we first moved in. And he has a listing in his book for bamboo varieties for edible shoots. And I chose every single one that I could find that, grew in my area of Florida. I know the Old Hams was on there, the Giganteus, the Dendrocalamus asper, the Seabreeze. So I got at least 4 right there off the top of my head. I'd have to break out the book and look and see which other ones he has in there. But just check out his book, even if it's not for a bamboo. It's quite epic. But what I wanted to point out to you guys was, we're pushing fruit trees up here. I'm also pushing bamboo. So these are cold sensitive bamboos. And the ones here at the very north of this windbreak are the most thin, are the most brown, that took the most cold damage. So we've been in, the 20s here a couple times. And these ones have much bigger leaves on them. Like I said, these came back to be 110 foot. I mean, they're literally going to be popping out of the canopy. Normally, I've had years where these froze to the ground, so they're not going to die here. Not supposed to be growing here. This year, they're definitely doing a little better than last year. I have a feeling we're going to get 60, 70 foot shoots. So you can see these are only a couple of years old. There's new shoots just starting to get, what are we talking? 15 foot from the canopy of the oak tree. So this one might get loose this year. You can see this one took a little bit more cold damage than this one. And this is the asper for sure. This one has really beautiful big leaves on it. Beautiful bamboo. And, unfortunately, being up here in Spring Hill, Florida, these are probably never going to hit their maximum potential. I don't care. These are just kind of more for me, my personal collection. Not really here to ever let these get 110 feet. And I will probably get some shoots. The fact that they keep pushing out every year, maybe this will become shoot production type clumps. And that's how they would do it commercially speaking. You wouldn't just harvest shoots off of your windbreak. You would grow a clump specifically for shoot production. So these could technically be cut back and I could just start harvesting the shoots. You would stick a bucket on those or a pail on them and kind of blanch them as they're coming up. They'll actually turn white. And it's just like eating a heart of palm. Talked to a couple of people that have had them, very common at the Asian restaurants, especially from that variety, the Giganteus. And you can see, over here, these are all different varieties of bamboo. Melingensis, I've got the Chungi Eye, I have the blue. I believe that's just another Graceful over there. This is probably my favorite clumper for a cold hardy big cane clumper. This is the Bambooza Old Hammy Eye. Gets to be about 45 foot, edible shoots, excellent building material, a little bit of a wider clumper. So all bamboos have different characteristics. Some mushroom out at the top, some stay perfectly erect all the way to the top, some are so tight you can't slide your hand in. Some are very loose clumpers like this one where there's like a 2 foot between each one of those Old Hammy Eyes. So I planted about 20 of those here. And you can see up along the front of the pond, we've got some of those, and that variety's just done really great for me. I love the way they look. And speaking of that, I mentioned earlier I have Asian lemon. I planted this Asian lemon clump over here in front of the greenhouse to kind of protect the greenhouse when we first installed it. I guess about 2014, 2015, something like that. It's at least 5 years old. It should be a mature clump, but it looks haggard. It looks terrible. Definitely not a cold hardiness thing, although this one right here, I'll show you guys. Whoa, that's the Giganteus. That one's a little bit more exposed. That one is not under the trees. That one was completely leafless up until a few weeks ago. It's just that we're getting into spring. Mulberries are popping out. Sweet acacia putting on some flowers. But here's that Asian lemon, and it just looks terrible. Spots and disease all over it. The new canes come up looking okay, and then they just start to completely get infected. I'll probably pop this one up, put it in the shade. And I constantly cut out these old crappy ones, promoting more of these new ones, and they just keep doing the same thing. So this one, for me, has done much better in the shade than it does in full sun. Old Ham seems to do really good in the shade or full sun. Same thing with the Seabreeze variety. But over here on this side, we've got loquats for days. Might have to slide one in here real quick. Whoa, this is Yehuda. Whoa. All right, you guys know I'm gonna geek out real quick while we're talking about bamboo, right? So I like to kind of rub these on my shirt. Takes that little bit of a fuzz off. You don't have to do that. A little bit of a loquat snob. And yes, I will bite off that little end and then eat the whole quat. Throw the seeds on the fence line. Graft onto them next year, right? Delicious. So probably one of my favorite varieties. Oh, we're talking about bamboo. Let me get back to it. All right, so over here, another beautiful clumper. These canes are getting to be about 2.5 inches. Like I said, all of these, no irrigation, hand watered when they were initially installed. There's another Graceful back there, and here's that blue, or I'm sorry, this is the, this is the blue. Angel Mist is over there. I also get confused. You gotta be very careful with some of these varieties. These glochids on here can be just like fiberglass. They'll go into your hand. The white on this will wipe off. You guys can kind of see it on my fingers. Very, very cautious while touching those glochids though. You can see first year bamboo, second year bamboo, third year bamboo. So every year it gets a little bit bigger, even though I'm probably at my 4th year or so. That thing started way over there in the middle, coming out, coming out, coming out. It's eventually going to stop clumping. You know, it'll hit its maximum footprint. So pretty awesome. I could geek out and talk about bamboo all day. I do keep about 7 varieties in stock that I find do really well, mostly just to have on hand for our installs. The bamboo expert in this area, or on this side of Florida, should I say, is Andy Firk, a good friend of mine down at Bamboo Grove. He'll totally geek out with you on bamboo if you want. So look Andy up. He's I'll put a link for actually his website, Florida Foraging, in the description down below. You got to check him out if you haven't heard of him already. Amazing forager and quite the bamboo expert. So I'm coming up on where I ripped those clumps out of the ground, and while we're up here we could talk for one more second. There is a Alphonse Carr, the last bamboo that's left on my fence line. They pruned that one too, and that one just looks twice as haggard as the ones I have in the shade, at least as far as pest problems go on there, mealybug. This Asian lemon's doing really good, but you can see, you know, it's underneath the tree. So literally, you know, 125 yards behind me by the greenhouse is that one that was doing nothing. So I know the variety does well here. And look at that beautiful cane. This is one of my favorite varieties, but right there is where that giant clump in my backyard came from. You know, like I said, we cut around this with the pony shovel. Took the guys maybe 15 minutes. Came in with the forks. I picked the whole clump up. I moved 15 other Seabreeze clumps the same way, but with an excavator cutting around it. Had a friend that came over. It took him an hour to dig around them all. Plucked them up, moved them really easy. That was that other smaller one. I believe that was the Bambooza Nana, maybe? It was the other one right next to the Graceful. So 2 established clumps, kind of in a dappled light area. I've got a couple of holes to plug over here, but that was pretty epic. Moved it all the way across the yard. My biggest issue was, because of the height, I had to watch the power lines coming across my property. So ran into a little bit of an issue there. But otherwise, that guy's in the ground. Got some water running on it right now, and it has been relocated. So, you know, right here is the north entry, east side of my property, and we've got all these different clumping bamboos in underneath the tree line. You know, secondary windbreak, aesthetic appeal, multifunction. I really, really like bamboo. So I could go off on this one for days, and I just planted, I think, about another 25 varieties over by the Centropic system. You guys want to see some more bamboo? And then I got to go. All right, so before I completely run out of here, I believe this one is Angel Mist, and that was the blue chungy eye over there. The glochids aren't quite as bad on this one. It does get a little bit of that white, but it has more of just an all-around white appearance compared to that other one. Really beautiful clumper, and you know, some will get leaves all the way down to the bottom. Some will self-clean all the way up to 10, 12 feet. Some get really terrible side branching, and that's probably the one thing that I look for. If it has a lot of low side branching, I'm not really too excited about it. Seabreeze does do that a little bit, but we don't really go near that one, especially when I'm planting it for a client. As you can see with the old hams, I mean, almost all the way up to 10, 15 feet clean. Those have never been pruned. You know, same thing like I talked about up there with the Asian lemon. You know, here's 2-year-old old hammy eye. Here's 2.5 maybe. You know, here's 3, here's 4. And here's my 5th. So can't even wrap my hand around it. Oh, got bamboo. Absolutely love that stuff. I'm gonna actually play with some treating of the bamboo. My buddy in Costa Rica, Trey, kind of got me turned on to how they have the process they use over there. They actually use like a borax solution, and with harvesting at the right moon phase, drenching those. There's a couple of different ways of doing it. Can really make the bamboo last a long time. So amazing building material. I've got a couple of ideas for it. I actually want to do like a 40-foot yam trellis. So before I just cut them down and maybe they rot in a year, I think I'm gonna try treating them and then do it. So hold tight, maybe that's coming in the future. All right guys, so I got so much bamboo, I can't keep up. I moved this one out of the nursery. It actually grew through the pot, down into the ground. We cut it out with the Sawzall. I haven't watered it in about 2 weeks. I actually just planted some more bamboo about 50 feet from here. The hose is over there right now running. So you can see, here's a prime example of you move a bamboo, you don't give it enough water. It's definitely drying out a little bit. I'll put the hose on here. Hopefully we'll get a little rain. You know, at least every other day for the next month, and it should be fine. So I'll give you guys a follow-up on that one. Don't worry, it's coming back. Just over here behind me, I mentioned I moved a bunch of Seabreeze from the front of my property. You know, these are clumps that actually the power company kind of worked with me on moving. So when I moved these clumps, I almost forgot what I explained to you guys earlier. The power company came through and cut them all down to the ground for me at 2 feet. So when my buddy came over with the excavator, he dug around each one of those, and then I just picked up the clumps at the fork, planted them all over here, and they're all sprouting back. I got a couple over there on the east property line. That one was probably cut up into, you know, 10 little ones, and then that one, and these ones are all coming back up. These are all on no irrigation, but they are kind of probably tapped into the extra water from the nursery, so they're sucking up anything that falls underneath there. And these are all Seabreeze. And same thing with this east property line over here. You can kind of see the old cuts in there. I just put these in the ground last year, and the old cuts are down there at about 2 foot, and everything's just shooting back up. There's probably a ton of energy in this clump. So those are those old cuts, and we're only getting up to about 10-15 foot so far with these, but I bet you we get 25-foot shoots this year. So right at the tail end of this, I just added a couple of clumps to the Alphonse car. I've got 4 more over there. Left myself a little gap to get through, tractor, golf cart, no matter what it may be. That's a Seabreeze, that's a Seabreeze, and then I think it stops. And then we're gonna go to Graceful, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the last 7 are Alphonse car, where it gets a little lower underneath the tree. Multiple reasons for this break: a little bit of protection for the centropic area, visual break from the mulch pile, visual break from the street, just kind of breaking up the space a little bit. And we noticed, you know, when we had the last couple of frosts, you know, the frost settles 50-60 feet from the tree line. So we're hoping once we get the bamboo here, you know, the frost will settle just a little bit further out towards the street. Also helps to warm the air a little bit traveling through, kind of takes away to that, a little bit of that wind chill factor. That's what I was looking for. So we did install micro irrigation with this. We tied a zone in, put a lot of mulch on it, cut this out with the sod cutter. All these guys got heavily amended. Tons of fertilizer from the chicken coop. You know, the good free stuff. Okay guys, let's show them this irrigation. So I don't even have a timer on this guy yet. We're gonna turn this guy on for you. And voila. So I need to get a timer on here right now. I've been running it for about 15 minutes a day. Try to turn it on in the morning when I'm doing the chickens, and I shut it off when I'm done, just soaking the root balls. I'll probably throw a 100 note on there when I get a chance. It's just one of those things. No time. So these are all, I believe, 10 foot on center. And you can kind of see there's no straight line here. This is kind of more of a meandering kind of bed, almost like a swale, and it ends up over there at the end underneath the tree. So yes, the mulch is still coming. Yes, I just installed another windbreak over here on the east property line, and we're gonna wrap this thing up. You guys wanna see that mulch? Oh! So I pulled in today, and there was 5 tree trucks out here in the yard. It was like Grand Central Station. Good problem to have. I'm definitely not chasing them away until I have a problem. So you could see the piles coming out here into the yard. I'm getting further and further away from the trees and getting quite the mountain going around here. So Got mulch? Yeah, we got a little bit of mulch. I guess I got something else to point out here. I will try to drop the botanical name for this one. Robbie, put the botanical name in here for this one. This used to be considered a eucalyptus. I know it starts with a T. I am terrible at the name of this one. Very common windbreak around citrus groves here in Florida. I kind of just planted these for some quick visual protection. 6 foot on center. They're cheaper trees. Actually gonna have a pretty good hardwood, so might end up using them for wood, might end up cutting them down someday. For right now, I had them in the nursery, had to get them out. They have beautiful new growth on them. I don't know why I want to say Truellana. I'm terrible at the name on this one. I know it was reclassified. It used to be considered a eucalyptus, and I'm not even quite sure what they're calling it now. But these guys are doing great. They were just twigs in the nursery, beautiful trunks. And let's go check out that last line of Alphonse Carr. Oh, don't want to see the dumpster? Plant bamboo. Don't want to see your neighbors anymore? Plant bamboo. Want to slow the wind down? Plant bamboo. I can't say enough about bamboo. Those are 2 more clumps of Alphonse Carr. I've been talking way too much bamboo. Seabreeze. I believe these are PG dwarf, I want to say, RG dwarf, something like that. These are a weird patio bamboo. I had a couple of them in the nursery. I've never sold them, didn't use them on a job. They went in the ground here. You know, just kind of building up this east line over here right now. Lots of Alphonse Carr along here. That one does really good in the shade. I actually planted these at like 8 foot on center. I probably didn't need them 8 foot on center. Once they fill in and mature, my plan is actually to take out every other one, get that same effect I had behind my pool cage, and continue this all the way down, maybe another 50 feet, 150 feet into those other bananas down there. This way, that whole fence line, before it cuts that way for my other nursery and shipping house, I'd like to, you know, kind of establish another break going all the way down. Our long-term goal is more shade nursery underneath here, more Japoticabas. Just planted this bamboo, just planted that bamboo. There's actually 2 more over there. We just kind of cleaned house in the nursery. I actually had a new construction project hold up, cancel, another job. They were scared of the cold. I got some time for my own farm, which is rare. So cleaned out the nursery, expanded the nursery, got some bamboo in the ground. Not very often I get a lot of time for my own place. And when I do, we try to plant stuff. So bamboo. I believe that is a multiplex, and I'm pretty sure Melingensis. I think it said Melingensis on the pot. So I bought some weird ones back in the day. I kind of got a little crazy with bamboo. I ordered some stuff from the East Coast. I brought in like 25 varieties. Anything I didn't sell, we plant here. So we trial them here before we give them to the clients. So bamboo for days. All right, so that's enough about bamboo. If you guys don't know already, I love bamboo. It's probably one of my favorite crops we grow here on the farm, even though it doesn't produce a fruit. It's really unfortunate it gets a bad reputation because of these running varieties. But do know there are a lot of clumping varieties. You just have to be cautious of the roots on a residential scale. So if you guys enjoyed this bamboo video, be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, maybe go ahead and do so. Most importantly, what are we gonna do? Plant bamboo, pound dirt.